Very cool. All right. Well, I guess we will go ahead and get started. I will put the chat over here. So my name is Hunter Rauscher. I'm the Associate Director for Residence Life and Housing. And with me tonight is...
I'm Cece Burkett. Hello, everyone. I'm our Coordinator of Housing Operations for Residence Life and Housing, also a UMW alum. So I graduated in 2019 and I studied marketing and business French.
So tonight we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about living on campus, what the on-campus experience looks like. After that, Cece will talk about some of our residence halls, and then we'll go ahead and get into some of the questions. We had some questions that were submitted earlier, and they look great. And of course, as we get into that, please feel free to put questions into the chat, and we'll try to keep up with those as well. And then near the end, when we're doing Q&A, you can also turn your mic and your camera on and ask questions that way as well. So, all right, well, welcome home, the on-campus living experience, and that's what we're chatting about here today. So the question becomes, why live on campus? And I guess there used to be an animation to this, but the animation is not turned on. So we know that from research, national research, that students who live on campus tend to succeed better academically. They may have a higher rate of graduation, their GPA it would be slightly higher, and their experience is just a different experience. And if you really think about it, when you're living on campus, there's a lot more connection that you have to the university, to your fellow students, to your fellow Eagles, than you do when you're living off campus. Living off campus, you really have to be intentional about coming to campus and getting involved. While you're living on campus, it's pretty simple to just step out of your door and you're in Eagle land. Living on campus also affords our residents an opportunity to meet and interact with intentional opportunities to meet and interact with one another, and to foster a sense of community and belonging. And what that really means is that our RA staff, our area coordinator staff, in the first 6 weeks, we'll get together, we start working on our community standards, we really kind of build the community within our residence halls, and then our RAs will have these intentional interactions. And really what that means is they're gonna come and they'll check in with you to see how you're doing, see if you need any assistance with anything. And those interactions really start forming these bonds, and they have those interactions with the students. You'll end up finding yourself with those sort of interactions with other students, and it really just kind of fosters this entire sense of community and belonging. And that's what's really kind of amazing about living within the residence halls. You reside in a learning environment, and really, when you start talking about FSEMs, your first year seminar, learning happens outside of the classroom all the time, right? And right now, even in your high school or other colleges, learning happens all the time outside of the classroom. And so what we do is we really try to focus that inside our residence halls. And we have programs and we have events that really kind of give that environment that learning feeling. And of course, your FSEMs are part of that. And FSEMs really kind of foster that community where everybody has similar classes, or they may be in the same FSEM, and it fosters those conversations, those late night conversations when you're hanging out and you just start talking about, oh, this is what I learned in my FSEM, and suddenly you're trading stories back and forth about what you learned, and really that's learning just outside of the classroom. Okay, hold on one second. Okay. Oh. There we go. Sorry, it took a few seconds to go. So how do we enhance your UMW experience when you're living on campus? What are we doing to make your experience better and really just kind of extra? It starts off with our staffing, and somebody submitted a question about what is an RA, and so staffing starts with our RAs within the residence halls, and they're just resident assistants, right? And their name is really kind of their title. These are students that are at least a sophomore, if not a junior or senior. They were a freshman, just like you. And they have decided to kind of give back to the community, as it were. And so they are employed by our office. They live in the residence halls, and they're really your first point of contact when you need something, or when you have a question inside the residence halls. You can talk to your RA. Each RA has like just a handful of residents that they work with. And then from there, those RAs all report to somebody called an area coordinator. Area coordinator is a live-in professional staff member. So this is somebody who has received a secondary education, They live in the residence halls, they supervise the RAs, but they also work with our residents that need help that maybe the RAs can't assist with, or that students don't feel comfortable talking about with an RA, they can talk about with a professional staff member. Those area coordinators report to our assistant director for residence life and housing, that's John Huey, and he, again, kind of came up through the ranks. He was an RA, he was an area coordinator, he's our assistant director now, and he helps coordinate all that learning that's happening outside of the classroom and in the residence halls. And so our staffing really is built to make sure that you are successful. That's really the main reason they're there, is to help you have that good first year experience. The first 6 weeks is super important. And we know that your bonds are really formed within the first 6 weeks. Communities are really start to be built within those first 6 weeks. And so we actually have something called the First 6 Weeks Initiative that we do. Our RAs will have weekly meetings throughout the first 6 weeks with our residents, and that's where we set our community standards. But we also talk a lot about identity. We talk about something called the 6 I's, which really is designed to help you learn about yourself within the college environment, help you learn about your neighbor in the college environment, and then about the building, and then of course about the university. And so this first 6 weeks forms those bonds with those around you, but it also forms a bond to the traditions and to the university itself. And it's really just kind of a cool experience. We have a curricular approach to living and learning, and that's just what I was talking about earlier. We've built a curriculum around learning outside of the classroom, and that happens with our RAs, with our area coordinators, with John Huey, through programming, through events, and those intentional conversations, those intentional interactions. Lots of opportunity to become involved in the residence halls, and whether that's deciding, hey, I'd like to be an RA next year, okay, or you're looking to find a job on campus, or you want to find out what's going on in the residence halls this weekend. You can talk to your RA, find out different events. There's just a lot of opportunities for involvement. Now that comes with one catch, okay? You have to open your door and get involved. We can put together an amazing set of things for you to do, but if you don't engage with those sets of things to do, then you're missing out on that opportunity. And so we try to do as much as we can, but we really can't take you and pull you out of your room. That's going to be up to you to open that door and get engaged. And for some people, that can be super scary, and we totally get it. That's what our RAs are there for. And chances are you're going to make friends with your roommate or with other people in your hall. And so just take that leap and get engaged. And then finally, safety and security. All of our residence halls have electronic access control. Virginia Hall, our newest residence hall that's being built this summer, or remodeled this summer, will have electronic access on the room doors themselves. And then of course our campus police, they patrol the area, they patrol the campus itself. And so we build our residence halls, we build our communities with that sense of security and safety in mind. So Cece, why don't you talk a little bit about roommates?
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about roommates. That is one of the main things on first year students' mind, at least when they're calling our office over the next couple of months. And so normally we're all together in person during some sort of a session where we might be asking you these questions, but think to yourself, since we're not in person right now, and if you want, you can use the reactions that Zoom has available for you. But how many of you all have ever lived with a roommate before? I'm gonna try and scroll through everyone. I'm not seeing many reactions. So normally that's what we find. We have very few hands that go up. All right, saw one reaction. But generally a lot of people haven't had the experience of living with a roommate before. And so then think now, how many of you are maybe apprehensive about living with a roommate in the fall? And we'll look at those reactions. Not seeing a ton. Oh, one. Okay, at least one. So yeah, some people are a little bit nervous about thinking about living with someone during their first year of school. So there are a couple scenarios that people normally think of or might have, in their head when they're thinking about college roommates. And so you see a couple memes here on the screen. You might be thinking of meeting your roommate and they're just they love you. They are so into the person that you are. Hi, I'm your new roommate, aka your future maid of honor. Like, they want to be best friends. They want to go to breakfast, lunch, and dinner together, work out together. Can we get in the same classes? That's a lot, right? Maybe on the flip side, you get a roommate or you find someone as you're searching through and you just think they are the best, and you just really want to live with them, and that's awesome. And there will be those situations that happens. Sometimes roommates are going to be best friends and maybe both of you will love each other. Maybe your roommate will be a little bit more enthusiastic than you are about the pairing. That's fine. And so really our point to bring all this up is that you don't have to be best friends with your roommate. You're going to be living with someone else in a room for the fall, which can be challenging. It's just going to be a learning experience for both of you. But the point is, you'll learn to live together. You don't have to be best friends. You don't have to be roommates in your second year. But we will be able to support you and empower you to learn how to navigate that situation of cohabitating with someone else. And so, yeah, so moving on, we're really into the memes here. If you pick your roommate, or if you allow our housing system to assign you with someone, that's what we call a random assignment. Really, the success rates here are even across the board. So there's going to be conflict. If you pick your roommate, if you don't pick your roommate, at some point during the year, there will be some sort of conflict. It just happens living with someone else. That's fine. That's normal. And it's to be expected. The way that you're going to be able to get through a conflict is communication. Communication. So that's really the basis of a good roommate experience. We want you all to start early talking to each other. So we want you all to set expectations, especially now during COVID. We want you all to have detailed chats about what you all are both expecting, obviously within the confines of our Mary Washington policies. But what you all are both comfortable with, what each of you would like to see within the room, and if those start out at different places, where you can meet in the middle. Expectations about what shared items people are going to bring. So maybe you want to bring the Keurig, and maybe they want to bring the fridge, and that'll work out great. But communication is absolutely key here. And so one way that we help facilitate this communication between roommates is at the beginning of the year, you all will create a roommate agreement. And so this is just kind of a way that we're providing a platform for you all to start having those conversations. If you haven't yet, which hopefully you will have before you've moved in, at least started having some of those conversations, but you'll be able to actually record, like, written out a roommate agreement between you and your roommate. The RA will help facilitate with you. And it's just a great base to have to start the semester off, start the year strong on the same page. And then if conflict does arise later on, you all can go back to this roommate agreement, say, look at where you started and see where you maybe got off track. Maybe you'll need to revise something and work on managing those expectations, and maybe they'll change as the year progresses and as you both grow. But communication, the RAs are in the halls on each floor to help you with your roommate, whatever the situation might be. And then if things are still not being quite sorted out, as Hunter mentioned, then our next level up is the area coordinators. And so we just want you to know that there's support for you in the halls. Problems may arise, but we'll get through them just with open communication and support. Anything to add on to there, Hunter?
I think there's a couple things. One, you should never ever feel like you've hit the end of the line, right? If you're having an issue with your roommate, you should never feel like you don't have any recourse, and you always do. Got to start by talking with your RA. You know, and if you feel like you're not getting the answers that you need for your RA, talk to your area coordinator. Email me, email CC. It's fine. There's always somebody here at UMW to help you. You know, if you do have that conflict, our RAs are trained in conflict resolution. They're trained in mediation, and they're really going to help you work through those things. I'd say that 95% of our students are able to resolve things on their own. You know, that 5% probably go through mediation, and maybe that 1% end up looking for a room change. And really, it's very, very small numbers. But we all hear the horror stories, right? We all see things on Instagram. We all see things on Facebook or the Googles, you know, like about first year experiences with roommates. And the reality of that situation is it's a very, very small amount. I think you're all going to have an amazing time with roommates, and everything's going to be fine. I do want to caution you though, if you are having a conflict with your roommate, let's say your roommate took your umbrella without you asking, please don't go to the social medias to complain about it, right? Talk to your roommate instead. And ideally, it's a conversation. It's not a text message, okay? But I think that when we start going to the social medias and say, my roommate, SMH, you know, that just kind of feeds that conflict a little bit more. So we want to try to avoid that. Okay, so we always get questions about what should I bring to campus when I move in, and some of the things we want to talk about are things that you should keep at home. Okay, the first one seems like it should just be a no-brainer, but we're going to say it anyway. We're going to talk about it anyway. Please don't bring any weapons to the residence halls when you move in. Please don't bring any weapons to campus. Okay, and there's a number of different things that are constitute a weapon. You know, if you are really into nunchucks, don't bring them, please. Just leave them at home, okay? You know, anything that is like a projectile, please don't bring it at home. If you have to ask yourself, I wonder if this is a weapon, or I wonder if the RA would consider this to be a weapon, it is, okay? Leave it at home. Please don't bring it. If you really do have a serious question about whether you can bring something or not, please reach out to our office, to reslife@umw.edu. You can email us, and we'd be happy to talk to you about it. But chances are, if it can be used to hurt somebody or to launch something, it's going to be considered a weapon, and we really would like for you to leave it at home. Candles and extension cords, and so every year we get questions about this. Oops, I had just clicked off my PowerPoint. There we go. Candles are not allowed in the residence halls, and that is candles with wicks. That is also wickless candles. Okay, that would also be the wax melters, and you know, basically anything that you can plug in or light. It's not allowed. Okay, as far as scents and candles and incense and all that stuff, just not allowed. Extension cords are not allowed either. And what we're talking about are like the orange extension cords that, you know, you might use in your yard or use at Christmas time or during the winter holidays. They're not allowed either. But you are allowed to have a power strip, right? Like most of us have at home. The power strip needs to be isolated and fused. And the easiest way to find that is if it has an on-off button, it may not be fused unless it has a button on the back side of it. But if it has an on reset or on reset button, then you know it is fused. And we certainly would say, go ahead and bring those to campus. Pets are not allowed on campus, okay? With the exception of fish. And so we get a lot of questions around pets, and we just say, please, you're gonna have to leave your pets at home. You can bring a fish, like I said, 10-gallon tank is the largest tank that you can bring, okay? Now, you cannot bring a dog named Fish, okay? Can't bring a cat named Fish. You can't bring a cat in a fish costume. None of that works. Only fish are allowed in the residence halls, okay? Now, ESAs and service animals, that's something that goes through our Office of Disability Resources, and we certainly comply with ODR and with the law on those sorts of things. But pets in general, please leave them at home. Drugs, alcohol, and tobacco, you know, kind of goes without saying, but please don't bring your drugs to campus. You know, if you are underage, please don't bring alcohol to campus. Our residence halls are dry for our underage students. And of course, tobacco is not allowed on the Mary Washington campus either. Now we get to like kind of the weird appliances, right? Instapots are not allowed in the residence halls. Microwaves at this time are not allowed in the residence halls. Even like induction burners, while it may look like something that is not dangerous and can't cause a fire, the things that you're cooking in an induction burner can. And so those things are not allowed. Finally, motorized transport devices, for lack of a better word, are not allowed on the campus either. We specifically call out hoverboards because hoverboards had this really bad battery issue. So when you were charging it, the battery would overheat, it would explode and catch on fire. Since it was on fire, it was like a candle, and of course, candles are not allowed on campus. So please check our website for a complete list of all the things that you can and cannot bring. Or if you have questions, just email reslife@umw.edu.
All right. So the more you know, here are some semi-auxiliary items, but extremely important items to go over. And so the first one, maintenance and work orders. Once you are in the halls and living in your own residence hall room, we will not know if there is an issue inside of that space unless you let us know. And so we just don't know what we don't know. Oh, did I come in? I think you went back.
Sorry.
All good. Okay, sorry about that. So say your sink is dripping, or not working in your suite bathroom, and you are worried about it a little bit. You mention it to your roommate, you mention it to your friend in class. Maybe it's still dripping the next day, so you call your mom and let her know. And then 3 days have passed, now it's still dripping, but we don't know that yet. And so we have a great opportunity for students to be autonomous and take care of their own space, and that is what we call work orders. So we have our facilities department on campus who tends to our residence halls. They are awesome, and what students can do is submit a work order, and they'll say, my sink is dripping, I'm in Mason 300, and you'll be able to indicate time frames that you would prefer to have someone come and look at whatever the issue is. The time frames are a preference. As I said, it doesn't always work out quite within that window, depending on the nature of the issue as well as the availability of our facilities folks. But just let us know. Really, we just need to know about the issue, and we are going to get it fixed for you and have you live in a space that is comfortable and safe. Our point is that we just can't fix something if we don't know it's broken. So you have the power to get things fixed on your own through, with our help, but you have the power and definitely use it. Sometimes we hear, it's the middle of the semester and a student is like, yeah, well, my blinds just never have been able to go up the whole year. It's crazy. And we're like, oh, well, did you submit a work order? And they hadn't. And if they did, it would have been fixed 2 days later. So just keep the work orders in mind if you ever run into any issues in your building. Next, we'll do laundry. And so each of our residence halls has at least one laundry room in it with multiple washers and dryers. The way that laundry works is there's actually a Speed Queen app. That's the provider of our laundry service. It's called Speed Queen. And there is an app that you can hook your card up to prepay money. And then you'll just use the app to select your washer or dryer and start it. It's super convenient. No need to worry about if you lost your student ID card that day, you can't do laundry that night. It's all in your app on your phone, so it's super convenient. Something that we like to remind students of as we're talking about laundry is load size. And so sometimes we want to be the most efficient possible, right? Like we just want to put all of our clothes into this one load, and then that'll be fastest and cheapest and quickest. Not necessarily the case. So we just want you to be mindful of the size of the loads that you're putting in the washer and then the dryer. Try to keep them so you're not, using your full body weight to keep the clothes in before you shut the door. That is a great rule of thumb. Just because if you put too much in the wash, then it might take more than one load to dry or one cycle to dry. So you'll end up spending more money in the long run and taking more time than if you had just separated them out in the first place. Moms and dads, if you're on the call and you think your students might need a refresher course in laundry before coming to campus, we would encourage that to happen over the summer before August move-in. Detergent is not provided, so you'll want to also have that on your packing list. Let's see, moving on, Apogee. So in the residence halls, we have wired and wireless internet connections available for students provided by our Apogee service provider. We also have TV service provided if your TV has QAM. This is a free service. You can connect multiple devices to your Apogee what's the word I'm thinking of? Your Apogee network in your residence hall. So you'll be sharing it with your roommate, right? And maybe a couple other rooms that are around you. The speed is totally fine. There's not normally any questions. Students have been doing their Zoom calls from the residence halls all year. So that's been great. There is, however, an option if you're looking for some faster speed or you just have a billion devices to connect. There are some options to upgrade if that's something that you're interested in. The last bullet point on this one, renter's insurance. So everyone, if you take something away from this presentation, we want you to remember this upcoming information. So we encourage all of our students to have renter's insurance while they're living on campus. Say there's a flood in a building and you left your laptop on the ground and you come back to your room and now it's soaking wet and ruined and all your work from the semester is gone, but also your $800 laptop is now not working. We encourage everyone to really consider and have renter's insurance just in case something like that happens. We really want you to have your bases covered. A lot of homeowners insurance will include some, or maybe have an option for a renter's insurance addition on the policy. But it's just a great way to cover your bases. Hunter, anything you want to add about insurance?
No, I mean, I think you nailed it all. I think it's just important to say that when there's a situation in a residence hall, like let's say there was a storm and your laptop does get wet, that's not something that UMW is going to reimburse you for. Okay, and so that's why it's really, really important for you to have that insurance. If you don't have a homeowner's policy, you can just go to the Googles, and the Googles has plenty of options for college students. If you just put in college student renter's insurance or college student dorm insurance, you'll be able to find something. And we certainly encourage you to take that, because that will be something that you hopefully will never need. But if you do need it, it's great to have it. All right. Oops. All right. Well, I think that's kind of bringing us to the end of this particular session. I am going to ask Cece to talk a little bit about our residence halls, and then we'll jump into questions.
Yeah, sure. So first years have specific first year residence halls that you will be living in. So you'll be living with other first year students who are living on campus and coming to college for the first time. They're really special communities. And when we're thinking about our first year residence halls, really we have two types. Okay, so we have a suite style residence hall, and we have what we call a traditional or a hall style residence hall. We'll start with a suite and then we'll talk about the halls. So an example of a suite style is one bedroom. You have a bathroom, that is adjoining a second bedroom. So we call these suites. These house 4 students. So it'll be 2 double bedrooms adjoined by a bathroom in the middle. Generally, there are 2 sinks in that bathroom. Sometimes students have sinks within their actual bedroom outside of the restroom, but sinks, a shower, and a toilet within those bathrooms. Students, this really gives the opportunity we see here for suites to get to know each other really well. So you'll be living with your roommate, but you're also going to be seeing your suite mates really frequently, really regularly in passing. And we see that these groups form special bonds. Something to note here about suite style halls is that you'll have a little bit more of a private bathroom situation, but you will be responsible for cleaning it and bringing your cleaning supplies. So generally we see roommates create a sort of schedule deal. Our room will clean the bathroom this week, your room gets to clean the bathroom next week, XYZ. You can fight over who has to do the toilet on that week. Let's see other things about suite style. I think that's pretty much it. And then so the difference here when we talk about a traditional style hall is that you'll have your bedroom, and then there will be a larger communal style bathroom on the floor that you'll be able to use. So this is going to have multiple sinks, commodes, and showers in it, plenty to go around. There will be 2 separate restrooms, a male and female restroom. And the perk about living in a traditional style hall is that these restrooms are cleaned regularly by our housekeeping staff. And so you never have to worry, is the bathroom going to be clean? Do I have paper towels? XYZ. It's super nice, and they're always kept up in great shape. Hall style halls, you really get a sense of knowing your floor. And so you'll walk from your room to the bathroom and back, several times a day, and you'll be able to pass people in the hallway and get to know them. You'll see people from, all the way down the floor, whereas someone in a suite might not have met that person all the way down their floor, just because they don't have to be out as much. And it's just a great opportunity. I personally lived in a hall style hall my first year, and you get to know almost everyone on your floor by name, really by the end of the first semester, because you just see them so much. It's great. I personally always like to encourage people to do the hall style buildings if they can. Something that all of our residence halls have is some sort of a kitchen. So either this will be like a big kitchen on the main floor, or potentially smaller kitchenettes on each floor. So you'll have a microwave there, an oven, a stove to use, sink. If you want to bake cookies for your floor, you can do that. It's a great way to meet people and make friends. We have casual lounges in each of our residence halls, so somewhere for you to chill, have a floor meeting with your RA, take a phone call. We also have like study spaces in our halls, so maybe like a more quiet, smaller space that you can go if you needed to take a phone call or you're doing an exam or something. Our residence halls also have like activity rooms. And so it's really neat. The options vary from hall to hall, but so for example, in Mason Hall, we have on the second floor, like a ping pong table in the lounge down there, and like TVs if you want to hook up your game console. So the options are really great as far as space that's provided for you to create community, and have activities that you want to do with other people in your hall. What else am I missing? In your rooms, something else that comes standard in all the halls, you'll have a bed, a desk, and then some drawers of some sort. Normally there's 3 or 4 drawers that people will get. They can fit underneath of the bed if you want to do it that way, save some space. Another point about the bed is that students can loft them if you want. If you feel like you want some more space in your room, floor space wise, then you could loft your bed, which will put it up to the height of a bunk bed. And so a lot of people can like stand fully underneath of it. Some people will move their desk under there. Maybe they want to bring a lounge chair and put it under there. It's just a neat option if you want to configure your room a little bit differently. I think that was the hall's information. If anyone has any specific questions about suite versus hall style, what comes in the rooms, feel free to put those in the chat. I believe that someone had sent in a question about how the halls are heated and cooled. Hunter, could you speak to the heating aspect of halls?
Sure. So it varies from hall to hall. So some of our residence halls, like Randolph and Mason, they have individual heating and air conditioning units per room. So it's something like a condenser farm. They'll be much like what you have in your house. You know, be able to set it to heat, set it to cool, change the temperature up and down to a certain degree. You know, we don't. You're not going to be able to set it to 30 degrees when it's 30 degrees outside, right? It just won't work that way. Our other residence halls have what we call a two-pipe system. And so they're radiated heat. And even our newest residence hall, or newest renovations, Willard and Virginia Hall, have this radiated heat, or they have something called a fan coil unit. So it's not necessarily radiated heat. It's a fan coil unit, and it's either going to be on AC or on heat. It's not going to be either or at the time. We have to change those buildings over to heat or air conditioning, but you do have the opportunity to adjust the temperature within your room when it's on heat or when it's on AC, or you can just turn it off. And then our final style is the two-pipe system, which is a radiated heat system like we have in Russell Hall, and that is you know, for heating only. It's turned on usually somewhere around October, November. We like to take a look at the temperatures that are coming up, and when we get into the lows consistently, then we turn on the heat to the building, and the temperature, the set point for that temperature is 55 degrees. So it has to drop below 55 degrees before the building temperature, building heat kicks on. And so we look for those maybe like 5 or 6 days in a row where we're going to have those low temperatures, because once we turn it over to heat, it's not something we can just turn back over to AC. And so we want to make sure we're doing it up at the right time. And for the buildings like Russell Hall that have the two-pipe system, but where it is just heat, we also have window units, and so you will be able to turn your window units on. But we do not want you to turn the window units on while the heat is on. What will happen is, if you find that your room is too hot, please turn in a work order, because what students will do is they'll say, my room's too hot. They crank up their AC. It's 30 degrees outside. It's 65 degrees inside. And then their AC is really trying to figure out, like, it's working really, really hard. And what people don't realize is when an air conditioning unit runs really hard, it can actually freeze. And so when it freezes, then it can break, and that can cause a water leak. So we certainly don't want that to happen in our residence halls. So three different styles of heat and AC in the residence halls.
That's awesome. Thank you. All right, let me pull up some of these questions that we had.
And so just, I want to talk real quick about the traditional style halls again. I think a lot of students get really nervous about this communal bathroom situation, and they shouldn't. I think there's a view in their mind maybe of what a communal bathroom was like in high school, like in the PE room, and it's just not like that. The communal bathrooms afford you a lot of privacy. And in our newest renovation, Virginia Hall, when it opens in the fall, the bathrooms themselves will have floor-to-ceiling partitions, and so you'll close that door. That'll be your little water closet, or you close that door, that's your shower. And again, there's a lot of privacy there. And so I don't want people to think about not going to a particular building or not choosing an FSEM because they're worried about a communal-style bathroom versus a suite-style bathroom. I think what you need to make sure you're doing is you're selecting the FSEM that you really want, not worry about the hall that it's housed in. So Angie, it depends on the seminar that you choose. Your FSEM determines, I think, as CC answered that, it determines your the residence hall that you're placed into.
Yeah, so as Hunter was mentioning, you're gonna look at your FSIM options and you're gonna pick the ones that you are interested in the subject matter. That is what we want you to do. Once you are assigned to an FSIM, then you will in essence be assigned to your first year building. So when you get your FSIM placement, you will then know which building you're going to be living in for the fall. I believe that admissions has provided students the residence halls of the classes. Adam, if that is wrong.
If feel free, I'm gonna drop my not exactly sure if they would have gotten it yet. We dropped to some of them already. Some students earlier on, we had our first big reveal. The next big reveal for FSIMs and whatnot will be a little bit later on. I'm gonna drop my email in the chat right now. So if you have specific questions about your FSIM and you think you might you should have received that by now, I'd be happy to follow up with you. So feel free to shoot me an email and I'll get that information for you right away.
Awesome. Yeah, so once again, just if you missed it, that's Adam Moore. If you have specific FSIM questions, send those his way and he'll be able to get you sorted. Emily, are the rooms carpet, wood, tile? Again, this is going to vary by hall. So Mason and Randolph halls are sort of a tile situation, hard floors. In Willard and Virginia, we have wooden floors, beautiful, decades old, hundreds of years old, really, wooden floors. So really you're going to have either wood or some sort of like hard tile sort of surface. Do you bring our own TV? Yes. If you would like to bring a TV, that would be something that you and your roommate could talk about and definitely bring if you wanted to. First year questionnaire around a week ago. Should I have gotten my FSIM by now? Great question. No, not yet, because we did this April 1st FSIM push where a lot of students got their FSIM. But for now, if you've turned in your first year questionnaire, Adam, it sounds like you might have to wait a little bit till the next push.
Yep, definitely by the end of the month, and hopefully within the next week or so, we'll be sending out that next round of FSIMs. We're just trying to finalize the next date for the next big reveal.
Perfect.
Yep.
So it'll be forthcoming. Cassidy, no worries. You're in the same boat as everyone else who's been submitting their first year questionnaire for the past week.
So Kendall, to answer your question, do each residence halls have its own Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi, or is it school-wide? It is both. So each residence hall has, basically it's Apogee Wi-Fi network. There are access points throughout the residence halls. About every 3 rooms, there's another access point. And so you would log into your Apogee account and that's your Wi-Fi. But that Wi-Fi is over the entire campus. And so if you go to the UC, you can log into Apogee there as well. And so you can pretty much be online anywhere on campus with the same account that you have in your residence hall. But the Wi-Fi is not shared through the entire campus. It's only shared through your one AP there. Lena, you asked if you could bring microwaves and mini fridges, and mini fridges are absolutely allowed. We do ask or do say that it's only 1 per room. So please have that conversation with your roommate and figure out who's bringing the mini fridge. We do not allow micro fridges or microwaves in the rooms at this time, but we do provide microwaves in every residence hall for your use.
I remember my first year, someone that lived on my hall would always use our kitchenette microwave to make baked potatoes. Yeah.
So, what is the move-in process like? That's a great question, Ariana. So I will give you both scenarios, right? Typically, right, in our non-COVID year, move-in process is pretty straightforward. It takes place one day. It's usually the Wednesday before the semester begins, and so you'll get information about move-in. You're given a time to come, so it might be 8 a.m., might be 1 p.m., and so you would arrive to campus. You would go to your residence halls. You would unload your belongings, and then immediately move your car to a long-term parking situation. From there, you and your family would be able to move, or whomever's helping you would be able to move your belongings into the building, and you would get set up. And prior to move in, you would have requested a bed loft if you wanted a loft or not, and then you would get things set up. From there, things start happening like immediately, and you'll walk to the president's convocation. And if you have not seen our president or heard our president or seen his YouTube videos, I highly encourage you to do so. We have like the best president ever, and he's super connected to the students, and he's just awesome. And so you'll have a chance to see him speak on your first day. COVID kind of changed some of those practices, right? And so part of a non-COVID year, we have what's called the move-in crew, and there would be a number of other students that are all over campus to help you and your family move boxes and move in. COVID has made it so that we're not able to do that move-in crew. We weren't able to do it this past year, and actually this past spring, we weren't even allowed to have guests move students into rooms. We were only allowed to have students that had entry testing done and have a negative entry test result move their belongings in themselves into the residence halls. The fall is still unknown. It's still kind of developing for us. And so right now we're operating off of kind of a hybrid. We're operating off the idea that we will not probably have a move-in crew, but we will have the ability for you to bring at least one guest into the residence hall to help you bring stuff in. But please don't quote me on that. That could change, and it could be that only guests who have had entry testing done will be allowed into the residence halls, or I don't even know how vaccinations may play a part in our fall. Again, this is all developing literally on an hour-to-hour, day-to-day basis right now. But the main thing about move-in is it's fun. And it can be a little tiring, a little stressful, depending how hot it is. Mom and dad might be a little over it. I usually see somewhere around 6 o'clock, I'll see parents in the parking lot like doing high fives with each other because they're like, they're gone, and they're headed off to wherever they're headed off to. But it's just a fun experience, and you'll really enjoy it.
Absolutely echo everything Hunter said. Move-in is such an energetic and exciting experience. It's August in Virginia, so normally it is pretty warm, but that's like not something that you're even paying attention to. Like everyone is in the same boat, and you're having it's just awesome. And then immediately, like Hunter said, the programming will start, and so you're meeting the other people on your floor. You're like, hey, where are you guys going? Because I'm not sure, because we have like 5 activities planned. And it's just awesome. Lisa, that is funny.
So a couple of different questions. If somebody has been told that move-in was August 16th, there is the possibility that some of our students will have an early move-in depending on the program that they're involved in. In general, though, move-in will be the 18th for majority of our students. The 16th is not something that's locked in for those programs because, again, depending on the environment that we're all in the fall with COVID, it may change some of those things. This year we had to pivot and we had to push our move-in back a couple of weeks, and so we're going to stay on our toes around the fall as everything kind of unfolds. Lindsay asked if there is a place to lock up their bike inside or can be kept in your room. And the answer is yes and no. We do have bike rooms in the Randolph and Mason area. And if you live in Randolph or Mason, you can lock your bike up there. We have bike racks all throughout campus, but generally we don't have bike racks in the residence halls themselves. Whether you can bring your bike into the room or not is really going to be a conversation with you, your roommate, and I'm really honestly going to think probably have that conversation with residence life as well. The problem with bringing a bike into the residence hall room is it could be an egress issue, and our fire marshal may just say no to that. But if you think that it's something you might want to do, just contact us, and we're going to go ahead and have that conversation with you. And then Angie had asked if they need, if they're visually impaired, have a guide dog, can they have more than one individual help them move in? Angie, again, the thing will probably be, we have to wait and see what our policy will be for the fall. I can't tell you yes, and I can't tell you no, because again, it's kind of a changing landscape. So when I say I think you'll have the ability to have one guest in there, that's not a for sure thing. Again, it's going to be developing as we go, and you will be kept in the loop. Once you've committed to UMW, you start getting those emails from Anna Billingsley, you start getting those emails from Juliet Landfair, our VP for Student Affairs, and they will keep you apprised of the situation throughout the entire summer as far as what UMW's move-in plan will be, or our opening COVID plan will be, and you'll get that real-time information, and then you can certainly work with us on any questions that you might have.
And just to add on to that, though, if you do have any specific mobility concerns or like just reach out to us and let us know, and we'll be a listening ear, and we'll support you in whatever ways that we can.
Yeah, and just to echo this, we get this question every year, we get this question really on move-in day more than not. There are no curfews. You are an adult coming to the university, and so I think really the thing you just need to be aware of is how your actions impact your roommate. And so if your roommate is, say, somebody that's in the athletics program and they get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, while there may not be a curfew, you may want to figure out how you're going to be entering the room if it's after a certain time without waking up your roommate, and have those conversations with each other. I just like that question. So I know CC answered it. I always like that question. Did you answer Kendall's email or question?
I'm not sure exactly how to.
Okay. Kendall, I'm going to take a stab at your question about whatever happens in the residence hall, stay in the residence hall. And to a certain extent, it's really going to be down to something called FERPA. And if you haven't heard about FERPA, you'll get more information about that as you go through orientation. If you get written up in the residence hall, we're not calling your parents, if that's what the question is here. We certainly encourage all of our students to have open and honest communication with their parents about what's going on. I think it's the best way that parents can support their students. But we don't hop on the phone to parents when something happens in a residence hall, unless there are certain criteria that's being met, or if you have signed a FERPA waiver. And so you'll hear more about that.
I know before the session started, I didn't see a question to answer, but someone had asked about scholarships and financial aid. And as far as being a residential student versus not being a residential student in your first year, this will be a question if you have specific aid eligibility questions to reach out to student accounts or the Office of Financial Aid with, and they will be able to give you the very specific details for your specific situation.
Somebody had asked about lighting in the residence halls. And so for the most part, all of our first year buildings will have lights in the residence halls, i.e. you'll be able to walk in, flip on a light switch, and a light will turn on. Once you get into our apartment style residence halls, that's not the case. You'll walk in, flip on a light switch, and nothing happens if you don't have a lamp that you've brought and plugged in, or if you don't use one of the lamps that we've provided and plug it into that socket. Some of the desks do have a light source on it, but the desks in Willard and in Virginia do not have a light source. We elected instead to put a plug that has USB ports on it. That way you can just plug your phone directly into the power source without having to have an adapter. But rooms in like Randolph or Mason, they do have a light source. It is something that you still have to plug in, so you're using one of your plugs. Somebody earlier had asked about how many plugs are usually in a room. And again, it varies on our residence halls. In Willard, there are 10 plugs, 12 plugs, 6 on one side, 6 on the other. And Virginia, it is going to be, I think, 12 plugs as well. Though it might just be 8. It might be 4, a quad. No, I think it's 2 quads. So I think it's going to be plenty of plugs around. When you get into a place like Randolph or Mason, we don't do quads at that point in time. We have just a regular duplex receptacle like you find in your home. And we will have those spread throughout the room. I would imagine you probably have about 8 of those, not 8 plugs, not 8 receptacle duplexes. You'll have 8 plugs. And then when you get down to something like Russell, it's going to be very, very similar. It's probably about 8 plugs.
Awesome. We are going to let someone unmute Armand. I hope I pronounced that right. If you want to.
Yeah, no, that was perfectly pronounced. Thank you.
Perfect.
So if I may, I had actually, you slightly alluded to it. But I just want to make sure, if I can, to ask specifically about it. And like a little question box you do when you do this, whatever. I put it there, but you alluded to it, so I wanted to bring it up. On UMW's website, and it is related mainly to financial aid, but also specifically to first-year students, and what I believe is the advertised requirement of you have to live on campus. There's a mention of something called a residential and or commuter student, I believe. And and if I remember this correctly from the open house, gosh, I wish I could remember the exact mile radius. Otherwise I'm gonna look like an idiot if I oversay it and say like 50 miles and end up saying I can live in Maryland. But there was like a specific mile radius that if you live within it, you could be counted as living on campus at UMW without having to pay like room and board things in the event that like that was a really major issue. But it was a very special case and very specific. And I'm wondering if either of you can, or anyone could shine any light on that one specifically, because that open house was in November and I do not remember much of what I did last week.
Yeah, Adam, do you want to talk about the on-campus requirement?
So it's that mile radius is 30 miles for living on or being considered a commuter student. I will say that if you've been accepted as a residential student and potentially decide to that if you are in that mile radius you'd like to move off, definitely reach out to me, because that may affect a number of things, including scholarship and financial aid. So Armand, if you'd like to, feel free to shoot me an email and we can connect tomorrow or so to kind of go over that process a little bit more and what that might entail. But for reference, it's 30 miles. So just off, you almost had it, but October was a long time ago. So, but I'm happy to connect with you if you'd like to chat about that.
And your email was put up here in the chat, Amor7, right?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yep, sure thing.
Didn't miss a thing.
All right.
Okay.
Well, so I was going to say, I think that's kind of bringing us to close to the end of our time here. If you have any questions and we've not been able to answer them, please reach out. Again, ResLife, ResLife, reslife@umw.edu. We will certainly get answers back to you. I do want to say Hipster Cat is probably like the coolest picture I've seen on one of these Zoom meetings so far. So thank you, Hipster Cat, for being here. All right. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you all so much for coming. See you soon.
All right, have a good one all.